This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and a banner day for worker freedom in America yesterday with the Supreme Court's ruling in Janus v. AFSCME. Mark Janus, who we've had on this show, is a state of Illinois employee, and he deserves a lot of credit for going the distance in this case. So now 22 states, including Illinois, District of Columbia. You don't want AFSCME, SEIU, the teachers union, to represent you. You don't have to be forced into financing their representation. Interesting. Mark Janus been on the show a couple of times, as well as our Sunday show.
He's going to be on here at 8:38 this morning.
Yeah, so bottom of the 8
good
o'clock
programming note.
And he's been on Illinois Rising to our Sunday program. Here's what he said. This is back when we interviewed him, January 8th of 2016. This is before the Friedrichs decision, which was a deadlock and thus no action on this matter of fair share for public sector employees. This was before Scalia's death. Mark Janus explaining why he pursued this case.
Quite frankly, our current budget situation. As everybody knows, it's a mess. We've got bills that aren't getting paid. We've got people that aren't being served. And, it's just a conglomeration of, continued errors all the way around, on all sides of the fence, as I see it. But primarily it was because, I just didn't see that the union was representing a lot of my points of view in several areas, and I just don't agree with them in all cases. And
the argument that's being made by the hysterical left in the wake of the Janus decision handed down by the High Court yesterday is, of course, this is just an attack on unions, on unionization, on collective bargaining rights.
It's an attack on Democrats because 90% of the dues that we would pay would go to Democratic candidates. I mean, I was in a union for 18 years, and all we supported were Democratic candidates.
Right. And
if you've brought up a Republican candidate to support, you were knocked down.
In addition to supporting them with your actual work product on television.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, the dues were high. I don't know. And the more you made, the more you had to pay into the union. And then when you get in trouble, they supposedly send a lawyer to help you. And when I got in trouble, the lawyer didn't do anything, just sat there.
Well, Mark Janus, though, this is not somebody who is union busting. That wasn't the impetus for this. And Janus provided us a couple of years back now with his perspective on unions.
No, I mean, unions have their place. They really do. I look at unions and the current situation kind of like a pendulum. I mean, as we all know, back in the early 1900s, business had an iron fist and they kind of ruled the roost, if you will. And unions came along and people, bargained and they collectively got together and they changed that pendulum, to start swinging more to the center. Well, over the last number of years, in general, the pendulum has swung way more, I think, towards the unions. And I think we just kind of need to bring that pendulum back, more to center.
For more on this topic, we're now pleased to be joined by Pat Hughes, who's the president of the Liberty Justice Center, of which I am a co-founder. This was Liberty Justice Center's case. This is an Illinois case. Liberty Justice Center, along with National Right to Work, took this case all the way to the Supreme Court and, of course, as we know, was victorious yesterday. For more on the implications, Pat Hughes joins us now. Pat, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Thanks for having me.
So what does this mean going forward? I saw there was already a missive yesterday sent out by the state, CMS, explaining to state workers, the implications of this decision and that how you can opt out and how you must opt in if you want to continue to be part of, for example, AFSCME here.
Yeah, Dan and Amy, it's a huge victory for us and for Mark Janus, who's a wonderful plaintiff. Basically, the unions were taking these dues against the will of Mark and so many other workers across the country. And what Justice Alito and the 4 other members of the court that voted with Justice Alito said is, that's unconstitutional. And in order for someone to have those dues taken from them, they have to specifically state that they want the dues to be taken from their paycheck. In other words, they want to be members of the union, and they want that money to be taken from them. And so the unions are going to have to go and petition everybody who's a public sector worker, not only in Illinois, but across the country, to support the union. And if those people don't want to support the union, they don't want to be in the union, they don't have to be anymore. So it's a major victory for worker freedom and a major victory for the First Amendment, because nobody, guys, should be forced to support a cause or a group that they don't want to support or that they don't agree with. So
Right,
it was a great win for Americans yesterday.
Oh, I agree, but isn't there a fear of retaliation? I mean, they could get you if you're for a promotion, you might not get that promotion, and they can make life pretty miserable for you at work. Is there anyone that could help, like a reporting agency, where if you're getting harassed, that there's someone there?
Yeah, I think Amy, that there's a fear for one person, but now this has freed every single public sector worker in the country, and that has a lot of power in numbers. And now the unions are going to have to respond to the worker. It was the other way around. For years they could take these dues. They didn't have to provide any particular service. Those dues came whether the union did a good job or didn't do a good job. Now they're going to have to earn the right to get those dues. They're going to have to earn the right to earn that membership. And if people don't want to be in it, they don't have to be. So I think the fear is now a lot less and the intimidation is a lot less.
The Chicago Teachers Union responded yesterday. Janus backers aim to crush public education, undermine economic and social safety nets. Your response to their response. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, the Chicago Teacher Union that's a terrific group. Karen Lewis and her ilk, Jesse Sharkey. Look, the reality of it is, they're the dues member payers of the Chicago Union before Janus, and the non-members who paid fair share dues, or what they called the fair share dues, the agency fees. Do you know what that was, Dan and Amy? That was the same amount. They charged their non-members the exact same amount they charged their members, right? And so for the Chicago Teachers Union, this was just a way to have people who weren't part of their union pay them money so that they could do politics, right? And yesterday changed the nature of that relationship and changed their ability to, for lack of a better term, take money from these folks to support political causes they don't believe in. And you know what the political causes, Dan, Amy, that the Chicago Teachers Union supports. So this is more rhetoric from folks who who now are going to have to be accustomed to earning membership. We're going to have to go and sell their wares to their employees, and we'll see how that goes.
Does this mean that they'll still have floats in the Gay Pride Parade? SEIU, Teachers Union. Will they be able to afford these floats?
Yeah. So it's a great question. Pat Hughes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pat Hughes is
Pat's
going
like stunned,
to pass
know.
on that.
Yeah, they're in every parade.
So Pat, so kind of the implications going forward. We saw when this was done at the state level, Scott Walker, the budget repair bill back in 2011, that the Wisconsin Education Association, the WEA, their teachers union statewide, lost like 30% of their membership overnight. You have SEIU, AFSCME, and the teachers unions, including CTU in this state, who provide millions upon millions of dollars in support to Democrat candidates, the Democrat power structure in the city and the state. And so the assessments locally about the political impact, I know I've seen some estimates nationally that this could cost public sector unions upwards of $2 billion in political cash that they have to spend.
Yeah, Dan, I think that number is right. And if you look at states that have gone through legislation from non-right to work to right to work states, and what this decision does is it makes every single state in the country right to work for public employees. When you look at the states that have gone from non-right to work to right to work, the drop in Democrat vote is about 3 to 5%, right? And the reason for that is just what you just detailed. The money that's not being coerced out of these employees isn't going to Democrat politicians and Democrat causes, and the people in the union, the actual workers, aren't captured by one group that's affiliated with one political party. And so the participation in Democrat politics drops throughout the country. That's been shown. So over time, what I expect to happen politically is for the unions to try to compete for the membership and to try to compete for those dollars. But because it's no longer forced, it has to be voluntary, that money is going to drop, and by consequence, the Democrat vote is going to drop. And sort of it levels the playing field in electoral politics, both here and across the country.
Is this the death of public sector unions in this country, or is that exaggerating the impact of this decision?
I think that's exaggerating it. We're not at Liberty Justice Center, Dan. You're a co-founder with me. We're not anti-union. Mark Janus is an anti-union. Public sector unions are still going to exist, but they're going to have to exist in an environment where they're going to have to earn their membership, and they're going to have to earn their membership dues. And if they want to survive and thrive over time, they're just going to have to do a better job of attracting members and a better job of serving members, just like any other group, Dan, that would want your money, or any other business that would want you as a customer would have to do. And they've been exempt for that for a generation, and now they won't. And so if they're smart, they'll get to the business of trying to attract members, and if they are doing a good job and have things to prove that they're going to do good services for these employees, then they'll attract members. If they can't do that, then they're going to be in trouble.
And with respect to private sector unions, your trades, for example, what's the impact of this decision?
So this is a public sector, because it's the nature of the First Amendment, only a government can impact. This is a public sector circumstance, so it only impacts the public sector. But of course, over time, we'll see how the private sector unions react to that, and we'll see what the court does in future instances as it relates to private sector unionization. This is sort of starting a different line of thought in how a member of a union and a union interact with each other.
All right. He is Pat Hughes. He's the president of Liberty Justice Center, the legal representation in part for Mark Janus in this case that the Supreme Court ruled on yesterday. Pat, thanks for joining us. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you too, Dan, and thanks for having me, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're a